Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, January 21 at 9:17 New York time. And what's going on with Bitcoin? Is it the end for Bitcoin that we know it? Well, let's talk about it. So yesterday we highlighted that it was not looking healthy for Bitcoin because it failed over the weekend. It broke below the resistance of this bear wedge. So we were seeing a lot. This was a pretty pivotal moment right here where it found support on the 50-day, the red line, that's the medium-term moving average. It found support multiple times, had a nice strong rally, and then it had a nice follow-through day above the resistance. It squatted down, found support on that resistance, and then continued moving forward. So we were saying that, because of this price action, this could be the turn of the trend. We could see things moving forward, maybe up to the 200-day, and then that would become the next major area of resistance. But over the weekend, we failed to continue that rally, that momentum, and we broke down. It was relatively low volume, which made me hopeful that maybe we could find support. We did also find support on the 20-day. It bounced off the 20-day. Looked like it was squatting there. We saw that it touched down on the 50-day, so maybe we were going to find support on the 50-day. But as of later in the evening, it broke below the 50-day with some pretty strong volume, and now it came up, it tested the 50-day, got rejected, and now it looks like it's trying to come up to the 50-day again, which is going to be an area of potential major resistance. We can also see that it broke that down trend line. We had a trend line of this bear wedge for quite some time, but like we were saying, that diagonal trend lines are not going to be as strong as a horizontal or flat trend line. So we didn't have a lot of hope, but we were saying that because there were so many things lining up, the 50-day converging with that trend line, the 20-day above the 50-day, so the short term showing some strength. And so there was just a lot of convergences happening that made it more likely that there could be some type of rally off of the 50-day and the trend maybe continuing forward. But as of today, things are not looking good. So that house that I sold to buy more Bitcoin and then do a leveraged trade did not work out. I am now moving in with my mom. So wife and 2 kids, we're all moving in with my mom since we have no place now. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you just buy on hope and you don't have any proper risk management. So now what? What can we expect, and why? Why is Bitcoin doing this? Well, I asked ChatGPT, and it gave me some articles. So Bitcoin falls below 89,000 amid new tariff war concerns, bond sell-off, markets, live blog. Yeah, so tariff war concerns, bond sell-off. Another one here, U.S. regulatory fears, the EU tensions. We can also see that there was quite a lot of liquidations that happened. And you can see liquidations right here, Bitcoin future liquidations. So it's those degens. All those degens were saying that they wanted it to go long, and they just got flushed. So you can see in comparison, this was the largest liquidation, in quite a while. So we had some pretty big liquidations over here. Really big. Right up there. That one was a huge day. Was that October 10th, I believe? So yeah, decent liquidation, which would make sense why we are getting flushed out below there. And also looking at the market, what's going on with the market? I mean, yesterday was not a healthy day for the SPY. So we can see big gap down. There was a big gap down, high volume, crosses below the 50-day. All not very good signs. In a strong trend, and I'm just looking at this trend, and this is just my personal opinion, just based on the price action. This is strong price action. It's respecting the 20-day. There's even though the volume is not super strong there, and that was one of the things that kind of confused me earlier when I first started looking at this. I got out when it right over here. It crossed below, and I didn't buy back in because I wasn't really convinced by that volume. But the SPY doesn't need a lot of volume for it to continue to rally. It just needs strong price action. And then over here, you can see when the 50-day caught up, the red line, and it started cutting below the 20-day. Things started getting really just more choppy, and now things have been going a bit more sideways. 50 days flattening, 20 days flattening, 200 days still pointing up because it had a nice strong rally off of the bottom there. It's a V-shaped recovery, so it's still pointing up, but that could also start to flatten if we start getting more sideways price action. And you can also see that it hasn't been able to keep that momentum like it did before. Since over here, it just started breaking down, just getting really loose. Look at the QQQ. Even worse. And you can see big gap down below the 50-day. Hasn't been able to make some higher highs for quite a while now. Small caps. Small caps not looking bad, actually. Small caps are not looking bad. And then if we look at total 3 ES, so the altcoin market, almost 100 billion. So almost all the gains that came in through, this past week have been almost wiped away. So that's not healthy. That's not healthy price action. So what's going on? Let's look at some more participation. Oh, and then we have ETFs as well. So ETFs, just to kind of see ETF outflows. That was pretty big yesterday. Zooming out, just kind of seeing. ETFs were getting pretty excited. People were putting their money in, saying, I think Bitcoin's going to go to the moon. Broke above 96, and then it's just gotten a little loose. Some more participation metrics, only 12% above the 200-day. So we're starting to make some headway, and then just shoots back down real quick. So it's pretty weak. 63 coins are showing some type of relative strength. Not healthy. Continuing to pull back into the fear range, 32. Yesterday was, I believe, 42. And then seeing some of these small caps. You can see some of the small cap alts doing pretty well here. 66, 45. Rivers continued to do really well. MYX Finance that was on the watch list. I did like the setup for MYX. This is looking pretty healthy. We'll see if that can continue though. So that's one of the interesting things is from the small caps. Just watching the small caps and their price action, it's honestly doesn't seem that bad. I mean, this one looks pretty good. That's pretty strong. Nice strong price action here. Zero was watching this. It did a break above the cup. Continued volume on the breakout. So honestly, some of these have some pretty decent price action. This one seems to be breaking down quite a bit, but it also did a pretty big move. I mean, 400, 500%. Pulling back 30% is not that bad, but MYX. Not bad. Now again, this is not. Yeah, River's just ripping. River's ripping. So Axie. We talked about Axie the other day. Chili's coming and retesting the 20-day, so Chili's has made a pretty big move, 100%. H still pretty tight. CC, so that's all that I really identified as watching worthy. So yeah, what is going to happen? What is going to happen with Bitcoin right now? Right now, it's I mean, if you find a decent setup and an alt, I mean, maybe you take a very small pilot. Again, some of the setups for the alts is looking okay, pretty good. But don't overtrade, don't overdo it. Market is just not very healthy right now, and alts, everything that's happening over here is just really a lot of PvP within the altcoin market. So this is not alt season. This is just if you find a good setup and you want to play within the people that are the 500 billion, the 500 billion that are playing. And really, I would say it's within that 100 million range, because when we're looking at these small caps, I mean, this is really the range that people are kind of chopping each other around. So you're looking at 50, what is that, 50 billion? If you look at the larger cap coins, another 50 billion. So 50 billion in the top 10, another 50 billion in the top 140, and then there's a few billion in up to that 500. So interesting times. We're just gonna have to keep watching Bitcoin, see what it does. Again, watching the 50-day, watching that trend line. Maybe we find another area. It seems like this is a pretty strong area right here. It found some support, so that 86K range. If it loses that 86K range, that's also not very good, because now we are making lower lows. So yeah, we'll see what happens.